Welcome to another episode, guys. Before we get this one started, we gotta eat some food because it's early and I'm hungry. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Bassin' with Beckham. A little chilly out here this morning, but with that being said, I'm going to give you all some simple tips and tricks that are going to make y'all a better wacky rig fisherman. To me, the wacky rig is one of those techniques that a lot of us fishermen just completely forget about because it's not the most entertaining, and it's not one of those things that most fishermen love to throw. But it is one of those baits that if you're having a tough day, you need to get that fifth fish in the boat, you turn to that wacky rig and it's going to get that fifth fish for you. And it's also, you start throwing it and you realize, holy crap, this thing can catch a ton of fish. So let me give you a couple very simple tips and tricks that are going to make you a better wacky rig fisherman. So let's get into it. All right, guys, so I do apologize for the construction over there. I guess they're building a parking lot or something over there. I don't know. But anyway, so let's get into, I use two setups when I throw a wacky rig. One bait cast, one spinning. Let me give you the bait cast rundown. I like to use 12-pound fluorocarbon. It's super clear. Usually with the wacky rig, you're going to be fishing a little bit clearer water. Since there's no real vibration or anything, they just kind of see it and they just automatically eat it. 12-pound fluorocarbon. I like a high-speed reel. This is a 7.3 Zillion by Daiwa. Very light, very nice little reel. And I'm actually throwing a ducket, which if you know me, I don't throw duckets very often, but this is the one ducket I own. It's a Micro Magic. It's a 7-foot medium heavy. As far as the rod length goes, with the wacky rig, you don't want a 6.6 rod in my opinion. With the 6.6 rod, I don't feel like I can throw it out there as far as I need to. So a 7-foot medium heavy really gives me that bend and really lets me launch that wacky rig out there to get a really long cast. My second setup is going to be a spinning rod. I really utilize a spinning rod around docks and laydowns and stuff like that where I need to skip this little wacky rig up under there. My spinning rod is a 7-foot medium heavy, just like my bait cast rod. And the important thing about a wacky rig on a spinning rod is having the right line. I run a 30-pound braid backing, which is basically a full spool of braid. At the very end, I use about a 2.5 foot fluorocarbon leader. You can see the leader connection right there, and then it just runs down straight to my hook. And so, most of the lakes we fish, I'm really not worried about the fish seeing the 30-pound braid, but 30-pound braid can be very unforgiving at times, and really having a little fluorocarbon that's got just a little bit of stretch in there, it really assures me I'm not going to break any fish off, and its fluorocarbon is basically invisible, so the fish should have no problem eating the wacky rig. But that's what I use for the spinning rod. Especially the spinning rod is a great rod around docks and laydowns like I was talking about. I don't really use this in open water just because I like a bait cast more. That's just my preference. But there is a definite place for a spinning rod out there on the lake. All right, guys, so one of the biggest issues I see with people is really they can't find a hook they like to throw. And that's a problem because there is a ton of wacky rig hooks on the market. So I'm gonna run you through the few that I like to use. I don't get too crazy with it, so hopefully this will clear up a couple things for you, and let's dive into it. All right, so there's 1,000 hooks. Let me run you through. I've only got 2 right now because I haven't restocked in a while, but let me run you through the 2 I've got, and then we'll talk about some more. But this is a Owner Mosquito hook. This is a very unique hook. It's got no weed guard on it, so I'm not gonna throw it in super heavy grass. Any lake that's got grass, I'm really not gonna be throwing this kind of hook. But any open water situations where you don't really have a lot of grass, this baby right here will flat out catch them. Because really the hook penetration with these small hooks, you'd think, oh, I need a big hook for a big bass. This thing will just sit right in the top of their mouth and it's not coming off. So this is a Gamakatsu little wacky weedless hook. A few cool things about it is it's got this little weed guard on it, and that means you're not going to catch all that high drill. You're not going to get hung up in that bank grass when you throw out there. You're going to be pretty much weedless. Now, another cool thing about this hook is it's so strong. I mean, these Gamakatsus are very, very strong, which allows you to get great hook penetration with that fish and get that fish in the boat. Now, with those two being said, another really good one that I would definitely have you look into is a VMC. It's a Wacky jig head. Now, that jig head I don't use a lot because here in Texas I'm usually not fishing a Wacky rig below about 7 or 8 feet. But if you're on one of these clear lakes or something like that and you need to get that Wacky rig down there, a little 1/8 ounce VMC jig head with the little wacky worm, that can be a deadly technique. So by now you probably know you can go to the store and buy a little Wacky rig O-ring tool that will save you a couple dollars over the course of its life. But the thing with those is you have to constantly keep buying them, and they're pretty expensive. I mean, the Wacky rig tool's like $6 and the O-rings are like $4. So by the time you buy all that stuff, you might as well just buy a couple more packs of Senkos. But let me show you this super easy little trick I've learned that's going to end up saving you a lot of money. Everybody knows you can go to the store and pay 10 bucks for some O-rings, or you can go to Walmart in the pharmacy section and get little rubber bands, and these are actually for braces. Stick the rubber band on the Senkos at the tip, and you'll have to double it over, just like that. Then all you do is you just work it down the Senko. Just like that, guys, you've got you an O-ring on there. You can go to Walmart and buy a pack of like 1,000 of those things for like $3. So in the end, that's going to save you a ton of money. And when you hook this, you don't even really have to hook it through the Senko. All you do is just hook it through the little rubber band there, and it's not coming off, guys. I mean, that rubber band is super strong, and that's going to end up saving you a ton of money in the end with a Wacky rig. With a Wacky rig, there's a couple things you can do to really trick it out and make it fall different and stuff like that. Let me get into that real quick. The first one I would say would be a nail weight. You can buy these at any academy, Gander Mountain, any fishing supply store. You can buy these little nail weights, and what you'll do is you'll just insert it at the end of your Senko or finesse worm or whatever you like to throw, and really that gives it a unique falling action. It'll kind of fall in a spiral with this side down, and really it'll trigger those super lethargic bass that don't want to eat anything. That's what can trigger it sometimes. I've seen it firsthand where my buddies just kill me on one of these and I'm throwing just a weightless Wacky rig and I can't get bit. So that's a really cool deal. I don't really use that honestly too much. I feel like a regular Wacky rig itself is finesse enough for me. When I didn't use the nail weights, this is a kind of a unique little deal I used to do. The nail weights are pretty expensive. They're like $4 for a pack of 10. So you lose 10 Senkos, you just lost $4. So let me give you a quick tip on if you don't want to spend that money on those nail weights. This is just something that you can do to get your Wacky rig down there to a little bit deeper depth. And that's simply using a simple clip-on weight. What I like to do is I like to put this weight about 4 or 5 inches above my Senko. Finished product, you got your weight about 4 or 5 inches above your Senko, and that's just going to help your Senko get down to those deeper depths. And these are super cheap. They're like, you get about 50 of them for $1.50, and that's just another great way to simple tips, you know, that'll make you a better Wacky rig fisherman. Let's talk about what I like to throw on a Wacky rig, because that's kind of important. If you don't know what to throw, then you're not going to be successful. But really, the Wacky rig to me is a very simple technique. You can really throw anything that is Senko-like on there. Anything like a little Bass Pro Shop Senko. Let's see here. I got a Big Bite Bait Senko. Got a Grande Bass little rattlesnake. Those actually make a pretty nice little Senko. Magnum finesse worms from Zoom. That's a really good one. You get a lot of action out of this little Magnum finesse worm. Now you can throw the Gary Yamamotos. There's absolutely no problem with that. In my defense, I don't have the money to pay $8 for a pack of Senkos, so I like to go with the alternatives. That's just me. But the Gary Yamamotos, yes, they have an awesome fluttering action and they will catch some big fish. Those are the baits I like to throw, guys. It's very simple. Just get you something that looks like a Senko and just throw it out there on a Wacky Rig. You're gonna catch fish. It's gonna happen. Those fish, they are programmed to eat a Wacky Rig. So fishing a Wacky Rig is a very simple technique. Let me just kind of run you through. I use 2 cadences when I get it back to the boat. But let's go over the first one now. And it's a very simple. You just throw it out there wherever you want to throw it, and this is going to be for the more active fish. So when I get it out there, I'm going to let it sink for a couple seconds. I'm just going to pop it. I make 2 little snaps with the rod tip, and that's going to keep that Wacky Rig up in the water column. It's going to be really attracting those active fish that are looking to feed, and it's a deadly technique for like summertime fishing when those fish, everybody goes deep, but there's still a ton of fish shallow, and this is a great technique to catch them. My second little retrieve is going to be when I'm fishing cold water situations, kind of like I am right now. It's pretty chilly out here, about 37 degrees, and that's when I throw it out there. I'm going to let it hit the bottom, and really I'm just going to make a little drag with it. I might pop the rod tip at the very end, but it's going to be a steady drag, and what that's doing is it's keeping contact with the bottom for one, because in the winter time like this, a lot of these fish, they'll be on the bottom. I mean, they won't be just kind of roaming around. They'll be somewhere tucked up in the weed lines or the hydrilla, stuff like that. So this is going to keep it on top of those little hydrilla beds and stuff like that, and it's going to keep it in the strike zone longer, which is really what you want with a Wacky Rig. One key with a Wacky Rig a lot of times is, I'd say about 80% of your bites come when you've just popped it and it's just floating back to the bottom. So with a Wacky Rig, you really have to be a line watcher. You have to make sure you're always watching your line to make sure that fish doesn't bite it, start taking off with it, and you have no idea. So definitely make sure you watch your line. Use those 2 little cadences and you're going to catch some more fish. Alright guys, so next time you're out on the lake, definitely tie on a little Wacky Rig worm, especially this time of year when those fish get around beds. A Wacky Rig can be absolutely deadly. Use some of the little tricks I taught you today, and I guarantee you're going to be successful out there.